Okay, today we are diving into an absolute giant of American theater, Lorraine Hansberry's 1959 masterpiece, A Raisin in the Sun. This is such a powerful story about family, about dreams, and about the raw fight for dignity in a world that seems determined to crush it. So let's get right into it. So first off, where does that title even come from? Well, it's from this iconic poem by the great Langston Hughes. He asks what happens to a dream deferred, a dream that's been put on hold, delayed by things like poverty and racism. And that single question is the engine for the entire play. When your hopes are constantly shoved aside, what happens to you? Do you just shrivel up, or do you fight back? The whole story gets kicked into gear by this one number, $10,000. It's a life insurance check that arrives after the family patriarch dies. But you have to understand, for the younger family, this isn't just money. It's a chance. It is a single, solitary shot at escaping their life and building something new. And believe me, the life they're trying to escape is tough. The original stage directions for their apartment are just heartbreaking. It says, "Weariness has in fact won in this room." Can you just picture that? It's a space where way too many people have been living for way too long with way too little. Everything is worn out, which perfectly mirrors the exhaustion of a family that is just struggling to keep their heads above water. But here's the thing, the main conflict isn't just the family against the world. It's also happening inside their own apartment. Because that $10,000, well, it means something totally different to every single person in the family. All right, let's meet the family. First, you have the matriarch, Lena, or Mama. She's the moral center of the family, and all she wants is what she and her late husband always dreamed of, a real house with a little garden. Then there's her son, Walter Lee. He feels completely trapped working as a chauffeur, and he sees that money as his one and only chance to become a businessman. His sister, Beneatha, is this incredibly smart, modern young woman who is desperate to go to medical school. And finally, there's Walter's wife, Ruth, who is just bone-tired and wants a better, more stable life for their little boy, Travis. And here is the core of the problem. None of these dreams are wrong. I mean, they're all so human, so legitimate. But they can't all happen, not with one check. So you have Walter's business, Beneatha's education, and Mama's house, all pulling the family in totally different directions. The pressure is just immense. So Mama gets tired of all the fighting. She sees her family starting to fracture, and she makes a really bold move. She decides to take control, to give them all a concrete symbol of hope. But what she does, well, it invites a whole new kind of danger right to their doorstep. She takes a piece of that money and puts a down payment on a house. And not just any house, a house in a place called Clybourne Park, a segregated all-white neighborhood in 1950s Chicago. Now, for Mama, this wasn't some political protest. It was simply the place where she could afford a decent home for her family. But that one decision puts them on a direct collision course with the ugly racism of the time. And that racism shows up in person, in the form of a man named Karl Lindner. He comes to their door and says he's from the Clybourne Park Welcoming Committee, but he's not there to welcome them. He's there to make them an offer, to buy them out. He actually offers them more money than they paid for the house, on one condition: they don't move in. And this is what makes Hansberry's writing so brilliant. Lindner doesn't come in shouting slurs. He's polite. He's calm. He talks about how people can get awful worked up when their way of life is threatened. It shows you that racism doesn't always scream. Sometimes it shows up in a suit and tie and poisons you with a quiet, reasonable-sounding voice. It is absolutely chilling. Now, Walter proudly tells Lindner to get lost, and for a brief, shining moment, the family is completely united. It feels like a huge victory. But just when their dream feels like it's finally within reach, the story takes an absolutely devastating turn. Mama sees how crushed Walter's spirit is, so in a huge act of trust, she gives him the rest of the money, $6,500. She tells him, "Put $3,000 in the bank for Beneatha's school. The rest is yours to manage." But Walter, in a desperate, tragic attempt to prove himself, gives all of it, including his sister's tuition money, to a business partner named Willie Harris. And Willie just disappears, vanishes with every last cent. And just like that, it's all gone. The house payments, Beneatha's entire future, Walter's dream. In one catastrophic moment of betrayal, every single hope the family had is just obliterated. They have hit absolute rock bottom. So what does Walter do, completely broken and desperate? He does the unthinkable. He gets on the phone and calls Karl Lindner back. He's going to take the buyout. And this sets up one final, soul-crushing choice for the family. This isn't about a house or a business anymore. It's about their pride. So here it is, the ultimate crossroads. They can take the money from the people who despise them, essentially selling their pride to get back on their feet, or they can reject the offer and move into that hostile neighborhood with absolutely nothing except for the dignity of knowing they have a right to be there. What is Walter going to do? And in one of the most powerful scenes in theater history, with Mr. Lindner waiting and his own son watching his every move, Walter finally becomes the man he's always wanted to be. He can't do it. He looks Lindner in the eye and tells him that they're a proud family, that his father earned them that house with his own two hands, and that they are moving in. He finds his real manhood, not in money, but in standing up for his family's honor. Now, the play ends with the Youngers leaving that cramped apartment, and they're walking toward a future that is completely uncertain. See, they didn't win the lottery. They reclaimed their dignity. And the issues they're facing, man, they are just as relevant today as they were back in 1959. A Raisin in the Sun is this incredible critique of the American dream, basically asking who that dream is even for. It digs deep into racial identity, family bonds, and the amazing resilience of people. The story is timeless because that fundamental human need to fight for your own dignity against all the odds, well, that's a story that never, ever gets old. Because that victory isn't the end of their problems, it's really just the beginning of a new chapter of struggle. They're moving into a community that absolutely does not want them there. They are broke. And so the play leaves us right back where we started, with that very same question from the poem. They chose not to let their dream dry up like a raisin in the sun. But the real question the play leaves hanging in the air is, what will it take to keep it alive?